extending this issue of opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to the conversation that has been brought to the floor of this House by the wonderful Senator for Nandi, Senator Cherargei, on the issue, and I call him wonderful because for the first time I've seen him standing very strongly with the Gen Zs, Mr. Speaker, because he has brought a very eminent issue of Gen Zs who go to the street to protest, and then whether organically or through some dubious means, some people organize to go and attack those young people in the streets, Mr. Speaker, in Nandi is not a phenomenon that we have only seen in Nandi. We have seen this phenomenon in Migori County, we have seen this phenomenon in Nairobi County, and we are seeing it becoming a serious pattern of attacking protesters and pitting Kenyans against Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. This cannot continue. We cannot sit as leaders and then we see people who come to the street to express themselves, to show their discontent, and then we devise a means of having Kenyans fight among themselves in the streets. It cannot happen. What I would want us to appreciate as a country, though, is that even if in the mind of some leaders that seems like a temporary solution, Mr. Speaker, we must focus on medium and long-term solution, which has made young people agitated in this country, and that problem, and I hope that the majority leader, because he's also a young man in this house, can actually be able to listen to this, is that the problem that young people are facing in this country is an economic problem, and we must devise a proper solution towards it. And with the naming and confirmation of the current CSS, Mr. Speaker, I hope that they will recognize that we shall not know peace in this country if young people in this country are still wallowing in the miasma of economic disenfranchisement, Mr. Speaker. And it's very important, Mr. Speaker, that the ministers who have taken charge of this country now must start a proper engagement with areas that can be able to create economic opportunity for young people. As I finish, Mr. Speaker, you know, there's been this phenomenon of sometimes exporting labor and sending young people outside the country. I saw the other day the Prime CS, you know, flagging off about 167 young people who are going to be teachers outside the country, Mr. Speaker. There are serious industries in this country, Mr. Speaker, that I hope that the executive would listen carefully to this and start budgeting for those areas so that they are not excluded on the basis of tribal or regional budgeting that denies some areas opportunity that can be able to create employment for those areas. One of those areas that I'm very keen on, Mr. Speaker, as I saw the former governor of Mombasa, currently the CS of mining and blue economies being sworn in, is, for instance, the Lake region, Mr. Speaker. If you look at Lake Victoria, where I happen to come from, Mr. Speaker, the immense potential in that area, Mr. Speaker, is something that hasn't been tapped, Mr. Speaker. As we speak right now, the country is facing a serious shortage of fish, Mr. Speaker. The market for fish in this country is 600 million metric tons, Mr. Speaker. And yet, what we have in the country currently is only 200 million metric tons, out of which 80% is only allowed as a wild catch and 20% is what people are growing in terms of fish caging, Mr. Speaker. If you look at the two companies that are in Lake Victoria today that are doing proper stocking of fish and fish farming, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that one of them is American. It's called Victoria Farms, Mr. Speaker. They are doing wonderful farming in that region, but even yet they are not able to scratch the surface. That farm alone employs 1,000 young people, Mr. Speaker. You can't compare. You can't compare. Gaspi Africa has done research in Lake Victoria and has shown that the lake on the side of Kenya alone can be able to produce up to 400 metric tons, Mr. Speaker, which is a market of 120 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. Yet, in the country today, we are struggling to raise 145 billion, which is what we have cut in national budget in terms of fiscal consolidation. Rio Fish, that is also trying in Lake Victoria, Mr. Speaker, is now employing over 40 young people directly and 200 young people directly, Mr. Speaker. So, as I finish, Mr. Speaker, I want to say categorically that young people in this country will not be leaving streets anytime soon if we are not deliberate about solving the economic problems of young people in this country. As long as young people are hungry, as long as young people don't have jobs, as long as young people don't have income, Mr. Speaker, they will still go to the streets. So I want to call upon the CSS that have gotten the jobs today, starting from my very good friend, Honorable CS Mbadi, and CS, my friend CS Wandai. It is time that you go there as experts and make sure that you're able to dissect the economy and put in place projects that can be able to allow young people to get jobs in this country. With that, Mr. Speaker, I thank you so much, and I hope that we look at the issue of economic empowerment of young people in this country.